Hi everyone. Hi David. Thank you for joining me live, and for everyone else who will be joining me on the replay or who's joining live but I can see the names. Thank you for joining me. My name is Isabel Martins. If this is the first time that we're meeting, and I work with energy healing, animal communication, and all things consciousness, us being aware, conscious of ourselves, of our own energy systems, of what we are carrying around, of how we interact with our world, and how we can actually come to a place where we feel whole, where we feel satisfied, where we feel that we are creating our life or co-creating our life from a place of deliberate intention and just a degree of self-mastery that I think many of us, if not most, want and are on the way to getting there. So that's what I love to study, that's what I love to learn, that's what I love to test on myself, practice, and that's what I love to share. And today I'll be sharing something that happened for me this week, and it's more of a, well, let's call it an awareness raiser perhaps, because it's not anything new, and it's something that I'm pretty sure most of you have experienced and are aware of, but it's something as well that, because it's so prevalent and because it comes from our early years, it can just go under our radar and still completely influence our lives, what we create and what we don't create, how we express ourselves and how we don't express ourselves, but we're not paying attention to that underlying cause. And the title of this video starts with "It isn't fair." That's something that came up for me this week, not in relationship to anything that's happening outside, not in relationship to anyone in specific. It came from an exercise that I was doing. This is an exercise that I picked up from Michael Brown, the author of Alchemy of the Heart and the Presence Process. And the exercise itself, it's to help you see how you feel about something, someone. It can be done in relationship to another person, or it can be done just for yourself, your relationship almost with yourself. And it's a gazing exercise. So you get a mirror. I got a mirror. I have a full-length mirror that's portable, so I just put it in front of me on the couch, and I was just gazing, just looking at my eyes, just not doing anything, not thinking anything, not trying to fix anything. The exercise itself is just full length. I have one, but if you don't, a mirror where you can see at least your face. Put that mirror in front of you, just sit for 15 minutes, 15, 1-5. Don't have to do anything during that process and during that time, except just keep gazing in the mirror. Don't get caught in the changes in image and the distortions that will naturally come up. Just bring your awareness always to how you're feeling inside. So you're gazing at yourself, or you can do this with another person, just gazing into your eyes and just being aware of what comes up. So it's like you're looking, but you're not focused there. You're focused here in whatever comes up for you within. And the exercise starts bringing up things, because even if you don't see it consciously, you are perceiving your energy field, and things that have been maybe suppressed start coming to the surface. And if you're distracted and putting your awareness on the outside, like we do so many times with other things, you will miss the gift that's being given by this exercise, which is to notice what it triggers within you and just stay with it. Michael Brown suggests the process of just being with whatever comes up, something that we've talked at length in many videos, especially in the video Stop Trying to Feel Better, Get Better at Feeling. But there are other ways that you can just be with what comes up. You can still be still, can remain aware of the spaciousness around you as well if you feel that you're getting distracted. So anything that just helps you be in your body and stay aware of what's happening without trying to fix it, without trying to get rid of it, distract yourself from it, change it in any way. Just being present and being the space, almost like being a loving friend for whatever comes up inside of you, because it will be something that is stored from your earlier years. So as I was doing this, I started to feel that my mind just kept on going to bread. I want bread. I want bread, bread, bread. So images, left field, images of bread just started popping in my mind, like a strong craving. I want bread. And because I was, well, first of all, present enough to notice it instead of immediately jumping off and going for the bread. And second, I was as well aware of the discomfort that I was feeling. I just decided to sit with it. So this can be something interesting as well for cravings. And internally, I just asked, okay, I'm noticing that my mind keeps on going to cravings. Bread, bread, I want bread, I need bread. Okay, what would eating this bread actually soothe inside of me? What am I trying to avoid feeling? And I couldn't shake still I need this, I want this, get up and go get it. So I just tried a different little avenue and just decided, okay, well, what if I then decide that I will not go get any bread? And not just that, it was close to lunchtime. I might even decide to not have lunch because I'm not even feeling hungry. And this is just a craving. What if I make that decision? And a surge of anger started coming from the deeps. And I started feeling, oh, that's powerful and that's interesting. It's not anger at my decision, it's anger that was already there, that me going to eat that bread would help soothe. So it's like a chemical type of soothing. It's almost like if what you're feeling is the acid, the bread would be the base, and it would help neutralize that feeling, or at least it would help cover it up so I wouldn't feel it. So I knew better. The anger wasn't because of that decision. The anger was what that bread or that craving was going to soothe for me. So I just stayed with it. Okay, let me see what else comes up. I was still gazing myself and just seeing the changes in my physiology and in my expression, in my face. It was also my shoulders were starting to come up. There was a tensing in my body, and I was starting to feel as well. My expression changed to an expression that for me felt very, very young, and it was something like this, like a pouting, like a clenching of the jaws and of the chin, like it isn't fair. That type of strong anger that could not be vocalized or expressed outwards when I was little, so it was contained. It's not fair. So it was anger that was wrapped tight in reins, and I just felt it. And I just noticed that I have a lot of that. It isn't fair. It isn't fair. It isn't fair. And quite honestly, I think most of us do. And this is a type of emotion that comes from our early years, when we try to do something or we want something, and the adults in our lives or even other kids around us just suppress us and constrain, restrain us. We can't do that, we can't have that, you can't say that, you can't behave that way, you need to just be quiet and pull it all in. So there's a feeling of powerlessness that's underneath this, it isn't fair. And the feeling of powerlessness is what's trying to very naturally come up as anger, and it isn't fair, and it just wants to continue to move up, and not out, but up into just a more transmuted expression. It's the scales of consciousness that David Hawkins talks about, that we talked about a lot as well, especially I think in the anger and stuckness video, because this type of anger, if it resonates with you, it is that type of anger that keeps you stuck in areas of your life. It can be more directed towards one, but if this is the type of energy that you feel that is still resonating inside of you as well, it's throwing a halt, just putting on the brakes, and in any areas of your life, because your energy isn't divided, it's one. So you have strong reins on a very powerful energy, anger, that instead of allowing it to just move up, not out, not directing it at anyone, but transmuting it. Because when you direct it, even if it isn't at someone, because we know better, even if it is just pounding a pillow, and like I shared in the stuckness and anger video, it can be useful at sometimes to just let go of the excess when you feel that you're getting lost, you're not being present anymore, you're just starting to engage and identify with the anger. But if you do that a lot, you're just releasing energy. It's almost like losing energy. Whereas you can, whenever you're feeling that, okay, I'm feeling this anger, but I'm starting to, okay, be present with it and just allowing the energy to naturally, because it naturally does this, move up the emotional scale, move up the frequencies. So it starts becoming probably a sense of pridefulness, like no, but I'm better than something. Then it starts to move into something else more neutral, and then relief. So this would be the natural progression of the anger. When we're little, we're stuck in the it isn't fair, and you can't even say anything about it because that's just the way it is, and shut up. You have to take what the adults say to you or make you do, not because they're mean or want to hurt you, although that came up for me, but because, well, that's the way that they themselves were conditioned, and they're just trying to do what they think is best for you. This is our adult self talking. In the energy that I was feeling, that it isn't fair, the more that I just stayed with it and just noticed the sensations, noticed the upwell of energy that was coming up, that anger, that it isn't fair, the clenching of my fists and my muscles. I wasn't fighting, I wasn't trying to change anything, I was just in that beautiful spaciousness space, just witnessing it, being very present in my body, and actually enjoying the energy movements. Although it felt uncomfortable, it's a powerful energy to feel. I noticed that as the anger started to move up, what was underneath it was sadness, and it was that sadness of, they're hurting me. So almost like a feeling of someone being deliberate in wanting to hurt me. And I know this was an interpretation that happened in very early years that I know as an adult isn't true, but it doesn't matter. It's there. Emotionally, it's still there. So I then just honored what was coming up, that sadness, that feeling of grief, that disappointment of the people that I love the most in my life wanting to hurt me or hurting me in any way. So just stay with it and let it flow as well. I know I still have a lot of this, it isn't fair, that's stored, but this type of focus and exercise, it's very useful for us to see where we still have these energies that for the most part they are suppressed. When they do come to the surface, because we have thankfully a lot of things outside in our reality that can trigger this type of feeling that it isn't fair, when things from the outside trigger this feeling inside of us, we usually go with the story. We immediately identify with, it isn't fair because of this. This is what's happening, and this is what's making me feel that it isn't fair, where it mostly it isn't the case. It's just something outside that you are witnessing that is triggering something that you stored from your previous experiences when you were little and all the way growing up, because this is something that creates those time capsules that we talked about as well. I think we talked about last week in the inner child and relationships video. We stored the original, whatever happened, that incident, we stored the shock, we stored the sadness, we stored the anger in a little time capsule. These are the terms from Barbara Brennan. And then every time that something similar happened that felt that way, that resonated with that, and that we suppressed yet again and repressed, we started adding layers and layers and layers to that time capsule. So this that I felt, this that came up, this that released, that was integrated, was 1, 2, 3, I don't know, layers of that time capsule. I know, because I still feel it, that there's more to it. So this exercise of gazing in the mirror is just one way that I can trigger it to just, okay, let me see where I have more of this. I can be more aware now whenever something outside triggers the "it isn't fair" feeling for me. Oh, okay, here's a gift for me to just release some more of those layers and integrate that life force, integrate that part of my consciousness back into wholeness. And something interesting that I also noticed is that when we are, it can be done with a mirror, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. We change physiologically, so we change our physiognomy when we are experiencing certain emotions. The changes are triggered by the emotion that we're feeling. So for instance, when we're feeling angry, this can happen. It's a sort of a projecting forward, a tensing up of the muscles. When we are sad, it can be the opposite, so a caving in. The emotion itself triggers a physiological type of response and a physiognomy, a change in physiognomy. You can see it in your posture, in your facial expressions. So the opposite is also true. So it's a feedback that happens between our body, our physical body, our emotional body, and our mental body, and our higher bodies, of course. So when you are actually triggering either the position of the anger or just looking at a part of your body that you feel, this is where I actually feel the tension, the contraction. And for me, it was the chin area, because I could just feel my jaw clench and type of a pouting. And if I actually just focused on this area, and especially if I did that type of posture or physiognomy, it would trigger the emotions. So it would be something that would be useful for me, for instance, to just take 5-10 minutes whenever I feel inspired. It can be every day, of course, but it doesn't have to be. Otherwise, it's just scavenger hunt. But again, it can be useful, especially if there's a lot of it. Just trigger that physiognomy and just notice. Just hold it for 30-40 seconds. Just notice what it makes you feel like. Start noticing what comes up in the body. If nothing, it's not the time for it. Keep on moving, doing something else. But if it does trigger that feeling again of it isn't fair, it's an opportunity for us to then very deliberately start being and allowing that energy to flow. Another thing that was interesting that I noticed was that I felt as this was in full force, the "it isn't fair," that anger coming up. I felt that it was almost like, when you're trying to tame wild horses, that's what it felt like. That my energy was just wild horse, and I had taken reins and just pulled it all really tight and really close. So the energetic feeling of it, I could also play with it, and I have in other occasions of just, okay, let's start releasing the rein and just starting counteracting almost, or unwinding the energetic pattern and just seeing what that brings up for me, because it might bring a feeling of I'm not safe. As I start to open up the energy, it might trigger other things, and it's just more awareness and more healing for that energy to be integrated again. One other thing that actually came to my mind, and this was actually more specific for this video, so it might just be a reminder for myself for the future, or it might be useful for you, for something. Excuse me. It's about forgiveness, and forgiveness in the sense that I'm talking about, it's not necessarily a mental thing, it's more of a feeling and energetic thing. So for me, in these terms, forgiveness equals relaxation, equals a feeling of relief, of letting go of the reins themselves. So what I would do, and I have played with this today as well before this broadcast, was just, okay, I was feeling it again as I was thinking about this video. I was feeling that it isn't fair, and I'll just touch the area where I was feeling it. Could be in my chin where I was feeling the tension, could be somewhere in my body where I was feeling the anger. Just touch the area and just say to myself, okay, so whatever this is related to, I forgive it completely. See what that brings up for you. If it brings up not happening, all good. You can change the phrasing actually to make it a question. Whatever this is related to, Can I forgive it completely? And see what comes up, or whatever this is related to. Am I willing to forgive this completely? And again, just see what comes up for you. If it's a no, perfect. You have a different set of sensations in your body to just allow and to just let them move and be integrated as well. Because that's the first step towards not forgiveness of what happened, but releasing the holds on your own energy and allowing it to integrate. So forgiveness is something that if you get a yes, for instance, that's okay. Allow yourself to release whatever you're feeling as a tension there. Or you might do something very powerful, which is first to trigger a feeling of forgiveness. So just imagine, what does forgiveness itself feel like? It might be different and different times that you tune into that feeling of forgiveness, but just feel. For me, if I tune into it now, so what does forgiveness feel like? It just feels like it's almost like a feeling of tiredness because of relaxation and letting go. Okay, I'm just like if I was holding something here heavy, just letting it go. That's what it feels like, letting go. On other occasions, I felt that it came up as a loving kindness type of a tenderness feeling. Whatever comes up for you as what does forgiveness feel like, just be aware of it, feel the energy, and just imagine that you are creating almost like a screen or a background of that energy in your body, just to be the space to hold whatever that it isn't fair energy is. Can I put this? It's almost like you're creating the container, a space of forgiveness to allow that energy of it isn't fair and everything that's related to it to move through and be soothed by. So it's not that you're trying to force anything on it or just paste forgiveness or force a forgiveness type of feeling on top of the it isn't fair. You're just creating almost like the background, the space, the container where those feelings of it isn't fair can, if they want, just land and rest in that. Just much more coherent, much more loving, much more life expanding forgiveness. And it is something that the energy itself naturally wants to do. We want to feel good. Energy wants to be integrated, to come back home. And triggering that feeling of forgiveness and making it the background can be very powerful, actually. A loving feeling can be very powerful. A full acceptance feeling can be very powerful. A kindness, tenderness feeling, an appreciation feeling, even a desire feeling for what is true inside of you, even if it is the anger, even if it is uncomfortable, just desiring it to just fully be what it is and be experienced. All of those are very, very healing because they are integrating. They are a feeling of love and acceptance for all that you are and all that you have experienced. And that's how we can start integrating more and more of these things that have stayed from our past, that some of them are so normal almost, even though they aren't normal, they shouldn't be the norm. They're not natural, but they are normal in our society. They start coming up to the surface. We start giving them the gift of just loving acceptance and allowing them to be integrated. And it isn't fair seems to be something that our society nowadays is giving us globally, the gift of seeing and starting to integrate, because that's a huge step towards our empowerment, our coming back to our wholeness, or coming from our childhood of feeling like a child, powerless towards whatever is happening outside, to just allowing that energy to grow and integrate and mature and just stand more powerfully in our adult self, our self-mastery, not in terms of control, but in terms of self-mastery, knowing that we are guided, we are connected, and we are able to navigate anything and everything, and we are creating our reality, not just our perception of reality, but we are choosing and deliberately aligning with a reality always. And the more that we bring these things from the past back home into our core and into the present and let them mature, all of these aspects of us and of our lives where we reacted still from our childhood wounds start to feel much more empowered, start to feel much more free. We start to feel much more confident, and we start responding in very different ways. And of course, our circumstance outside starts matching and mirroring that. More empowered, more confident, more stable, more relaxed version or expression of who we truly are back to us. So that's what I wanted to share. I hope this is useful, that it triggered some awareness for you, gave you maybe a few ideas of how to let this energy just flow and integrate to help you come back to an even greater state of awareness of your wholeness. Wholeness is always here. It's just that our perception is a little fragmented, and we're starting to incorporate more and more and more of it all. So if you have any questions, do let me know. Like, share, comment this video, do what you feel inspired. Thank you for joining me live, David. Thank you for everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.